Hello, this is my Crazy Ex channel. Please subscribe.
My best friend committed suicide after having an affair without telling her husband, and he's now asking me what happened. I don't know what to do. Story 1-2. Names changed. My 40F best friend 40F, Rachel, had been married for 20-something years to her husband, John 42M. They moved away from Utah to stay in SoCal. We've kept in close contact ever since they moved, right up to the time she died. Last year, she came back to Utah to care for her father who had since passed. She was here for a year, and then returned to SoCal, where she complained that her life wasn't much. With her husband's encouragement and mine, she flew back here to Utah for a while to have a change of scenery and be close to family, and that's when the affair happened. One day, she confided in me that she started seeing someone. I was not that surprised, as on a few occasions, she told me she was thinking about divorce, but never went further than toying with the idea. On hearing about her affair, I cautioned her that she should deal with her marriage first and foremost, and she should have known better before engaging in extramarital affairs. She mentioned a name in passing, Jasper, but it wasn't someone I knew. He was married too, from what she told me. I was alarmed and she was embarrassed and dismissive, and that was the last we talked about it. Occasionally she would tell me, "Oh, I met Jasper today." But things took a turn for the worse when she saw that he was having fun holidaying with his wife. She was upset and angry and incredibly sad. A month later, she drowned herself in her father's apartment, her body only found after the smell was noticed by a neighbor. It's been about 6 months since she passed, and her husband and daughter 24F are back in town. He sent me a text last night, paraphrased, saying that he was looking for the truth as to why she killed herself and asking if there was anything I was keeping from him. He mentioned the name, Jasper. I think he knows or suspects something. From what I know, her suicide letter just said, "I'm sorry, this was all my fault," but she never went into details. Her sister, who knew about her affair, told me to keep mum about it. I can only speculate why she killed herself, from guilt of the affair or from sadness that Jasper still was with his wife, or maybe even something else. What do I do? On one hand, I have a dead best friend I need to dignify. On another, it's incredibly unfair for her husband and daughter. But if I tell them, Lord knows what would happen. I'm at a loss. Edit. Spelling. Update. Firstly, thank you all for your comments. I wouldn't have been able to make a decision without the help you guys provided. Being at a crossroads, balancing morals with consequence was tough. I've decided to approach her sister and talk to her about telling her husband. I've also wrote down a list of the facts, no speculation, for John to refer to, and I will pass it to him in due time when we meet up. I will not tell his daughter, that is his choice to do so. I have not replied to his text as Rachel's sister has approached him already. We are going to do it in the next few days, but as of right now we have not settled a date. Some of you were right that her sister knows more, though she has not divulged that information to me. I will update again if there is anything significant. Thank you all for both sides of solutions, and for additional details I did not think of. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1, to put it bluntly. She's gone and can't suffer anymore. Her husband and daughter are alive and suffering. Favor the living over the dead. Redditor follow up, agreed. Knowing won't bring her back, but it will help him stop wondering. He'll be hurt, but the information will give him solid ground to stand on and give him a starting point to rebuilding his life. He seems to want to know, and I don't think that's going to go away, so the longer he's kept in the dark, it's just prolonging the pain and putting a hold on the healing process. Redditor 2, people commenting here have clearly not been in a stable, long-lasting relationship. He should know. He will rack his brain thinking of every fight they had, any text he sent, every possible way to blame it on himself. Her daughter will think of every time she yelled back at mom, anything she said or did wrong, and will never find peace. Dad should know and decide if the daughter should know. You are a third party. He knew about Jasper, meaning your ex-BFF's sister shouldn't be that angry. I am sorry for your loss, but the consequences of your BFF's choices is going to spread like poison ivy psychologically to her husband and daughter. Tell the sister you will be telling the husband, unless she wants to do it herself. Op answer, I wouldn't say he knew about Jasper, but more likely some sort of inkling or whispering hinted a clue about a Jasper. I may be a third party in the context of their marriage, but in this issue on her affair and suicide I'm as involved as anyone can be. Taking into account her husband and daughter, their feelings and lives going forward will definitely be a factor in deciding what to do. Redditor 3, I've had a suicide in the family. Tell them. Tell them. Tell them. I guarantee they are torturing themselves asking why? And what if? And did I do something? And is it my fault? And could I have done something different? They need closure and you can give them that gift. Yes, it might implode his and his daughter's world and maybe even the affair partners, but you can prevent a lifetime of unanswered questions and guilt. You don't need to try and justify or assume why your friend killed herself, you just need to state the facts. He already knows. He just needs you to confirm it. If you leave him to suspect forever, it will eat him up, and knowing that will eat you up. Please tell him. Redditor follow up, 100% this. It will be painful for him to hear, but he will at least have an answer and be able to eventually accept that. But it would be so much more painful for him and his daughter to spend the rest of their lives wondering why. Questioning everything. Your friend is no longer suffering, but her family is, and they need some form of closure, even if it hurts at first. Redditor 4, I would tell the husband in your situation. Lack of transparency pisses me off. I don't care about tarnishing a dead person's memory or all of that crap. People should be judged by their actions. Knowing about the affair may make it easier for him to get over her passing. Whether he decides to tell his daughter is up to him. Op answer, yes, I agree that actions should dictate them. She's my best friend, but she wasn't the best person to her husband. That's something that's been conflicting me too. Do I help her, and by extension it means that I condone her actions? Redditor 5, stop seeing this as talking shit about a dead person. This poor family just wants some closure. If your partner unexpectedly dies in such a horrible way, and you feel like everyone knows why but you, that would be maddening. Left with so many questions, trying to make sense of why it happened. Just tell the husband and let him decide whether to tell his daughter or not. It's obvious he already suspects things. Redditor 6, look at it from another angle. Let's say hypothetically her suicide wasn't actually a suicide, but her affair partner staged it to look like it for fear of her telling the wife. Would you tell her family the truth? Of course you would, because you would want them to have the facts as you know them to help them get justice. Well, needing closure is the same. Her family need all the facts to help them understand their loss so they can grieve and accept their loss. Op answer, this was helpful. Thank you. I never thought about it the way you did. Closure has nothing to do with reputation of a person. I understand that better now. I appreciate this, it greatly helps in my decision. Redditor 7, you definitely should tell her husband. He deserves to know. Redditor 8, her husband and child deserve to know. You mentioned he said Jasper. He knows, but not all. Whatever happened in their marriage was between them. But she carried on a relationship, fell in love, and only talked of divorce. You warned her to first take care of her marriage, but she continued naming him. Till she finally realized he was just pouring honey in her ear so he could get access to other parts of her. Her husband and child deserve to know. Jasper deceived spouse needs to know. You need to get this off your chest. In time someone else or Jasper wife will. What happens in the dark will be revealed in the light. Choice help her in death to live a lie. Or do what you expected her though, do and tell the truth. You will live with this. Redditor follow up, also, if the husband mentioned the name Jasper, he has suspicions. What if he gets her cell logs, goes through her phone, her computer, etc. and finds out about the affair? And that op knew and intentionally hid it after the suicide, after he had begged her for the truth? Not a nice look for a friend. Redditor 9, as a suicide survivor I am telling you to come clean 100% as soon as possible. Reread that until you understand. Redditor 10, you definitely tell him. If you don't, he could go through life thinking that he caused his wife to kill herself. He will replay every fight, argument and conversation thinking he caused it, which will bring a lifetime of misery. He needs to know. It's the right thing to do. Redditor 11, your friend was an awful person. She not only cheated but also killed herself, all of which will traumatize her loved ones. There's nothing to dignify. Redditor 12, you are allowing two living, breathing individuals to live in torment of not knowing as to why a loved one took this drastic step. The sister is a vile human who now doesn't want to face the consequences, so is trying to hide behind platitudes while ignoring the trauma of the husband and daughter. Redditor 13, talk to the sister and tell her why you think he should know. The truth hurts, but hell, husband could have been having an affair as well. To maintain the lie, while he knows things don't add up, is not fair to him. Grant him the serenity of knowing that he is not insane and something indeed was going on. Without the truth, he will forever be plagued by the inconsistency of the matter. At the end of the day, he's the one who is now suffering, not her. But before you tell him, maybe try to convince the sister as why he deserves to know. I don't think it would be tarnishing her name. Op answer, this was realty good insight. It's clear he knows that something's up. Serenity of knowing is a very important and valid point. If this happened to me, I would want to know too. I think the best way is to approach her sister first, if I were to go ahead with telling him, to tell her my POV and my reasons. Maybe she'll even agree with me. Redditor 14, tell him the truth. He both needs and deserves to know. Your friend did what she did and nobody's interests are served by you continuing to perpetuate her lies. By hiding the truth, you are contributing to the suffering that her husband and daughter are experiencing by not knowing what really happened or why. The truth is painful, but not knowing it is far worse. Redditor 15, oof, what a poor guy, being cheated on, left to raise a single daughter and family and friends who will lie to him about his wife's ducking death. All of you should honestly be disgusted with yourself. His child will now grow up without a mother because she was selfish. Wow. Redditor follow up. Exactly. I know we are all internet strangers and that life is complex gray. As much as I sympathize with Op, it's a different tune because Op knows the truth of what happened. But the people most devastated by the suicide don't even get the privilege of closure should Op keep silent. It's disgusting, and I hope Op does tell them. Being plagued for years of why from a suicide of a loved one is traumatic. Redditor 16, he should know. He deserves to know so he and his daughter can heal. Your friend is dead, her reputation doesn't matter anymore, and to want to protect her over the living is incredibly selfish, not to mention cruel. Your friend wasn't a good person to her family and they should know why she committed suicide. A person's death doesn't erase their sins, Op, nor does it make them a good person. Redditor follow up, but isn't that gonna give more questions to ask? It's bad enough to be cheated on. But as a person who was a cheater and has been cheated on, it just brings more questions that he can't get answers to because she is dead. He already is probably feeling guilty, survivor's remorse, etc., but adding a new layer of oh she killed herself because of some guy she was sleeping with is gonna be awful. Redditor 17, really hard situation to be in, I feel horrible for all parties. The one thing I'm thinking of is telling the husband due to possible STDs or anything S-timely transmitted. He should probably go get tested just in case. Although I have no idea if your friend had S-time with her husband after she had her affair. Another thing is he might find out about the affair on his own. If he knows about Jasper, then he'll do some digging. So if you want it to come from yourself, then maybe you can tell him. Over such a hard situation to be in, and I'm very sorry. I hope this might help, but reflect and trust your gut. Whatever you chose, I believe in you. Op answer, thank you so much for this, I really appreciate the heartfelt sincerity. I'm also not sure if they had S-time or not. But it is also another valid and also possibly life-threatening thing that I might have to caution him about. Thanks again. Redditor 18, when dignifying her will hurt innocent people, it isn't worth it. Redditor 19, holidaying isn't a term typically used by people in the USA. We say vacationing, over the holidays or while traveling. Neighbor isn't how people in the USA spell it. We don't include the U. You mentioned you were using changed names. It also makes sense that you'd change locations. But not being honest about the fact you've changed locations raises red flags that may cause some people to question the rest of your post. Two statements really jumped out at me. He mentioned the name Jasper. What he said about Jasper is an extremely important part of the story. But you didn't even tell us what that was. 1. Please quote exactly what he said about Jasper. I think he knows or suspects something. 2. Why aren't you sure he at least suspects something, given he mentioned him? Redditor 20, my father committed suicide, didn't leave a note. I rack my brain most days wondering what was going on in his to leave 2 sons behind. Please tell them, or as someone commented, tell the sister you plan on telling them unless she tells them first. They need the closure. Story 2-2, married 20 plus years, wife just confessed to cheating one time 7 years ago. Now what? I've been married over 20 years, most of them good. We have 2 grown kids, out of the house. About 7 years ago things were rocky, and at the time my wife confessed to having feelings for another man she had met online. She said she didn't feel loved by me, and really, I'm not a demonstrative guy, and I work a lot, so don't think I'm being one of those it's my fault guys, because I'm not. I'm an only child and really am very independent and reserved. She said that she thought she had to decide between the 2 of us, and she decided to be with me. It hurt, but like I said, I'm pretty self-sufficient, and we got past it. Fast forward 7 years. I had pretty much forgotten about the whole thing. We've had good times, and I love her. She's out of town for an extended period. We were talking on the phone when she confessed that she hadn't told me the whole story 7 years ago. While on a business trip back then, he traveled to meet her, and they had sex. She says that they really did break it off back then, and that I now know the whole story. Nothing has happened since, with him or anyone else. I believe her. She had been following the better to keep it to yourself and live with the guilt plan, but for whatever reason she gave that up and came clean. I think there are really only 2 possible courses: divorce her, or forgive her. If I don't divorce her, anything else like yelling at her, having my own affair, etc. would just be hurting the woman I love. I decided to forgive her. But she's still out of town. Not getting back for a few weeks yet. It's been a week since the confession, and I'm finding it harder and harder to live with my decision. Once I decide something I don't generally re-examine it, but I also generally don't fight my instincts. I don't want to divorce her. I really don't. At least, I hope I don't. I'm stuck. Advice? TL, doctor, married 20 plus years, wife just confessed to a one-time affair about 7 years ago. I don't want a divorce, but I'm finding it hard to forgive. What to do? Edit 1, to add that it's been a week since the confession. Edit 2, going to bed now, back in 5 or 6 hours if anyone has anything to add. Thanks for all the advice. Edit 3, I'm back. Edit 4, thanks for all the support and suggestions. I'm calling this for now. As long as I don't forget the account password, I'll follow up with results after she gets back. Again, thanks to everyone. Update a day later. So I was planning to tough it out until she got back, and then have the serious conversation. This was because I figured the conversation would be tough for her, and I wanted it face to face in case something went wrong. Plus communication is stronger face to face. That went out the window while we were on the phone earlier. She woke from a bad dream, and while we were talking the conversation went to the affair and I couldn't stop it. So we had the serious talk now, over the phone. More background, she had already confessed to having an emotional affair, at least partly because she didn't think I really loved her. Things had been very rough for us off and on back then, and we weren't as emotionally supportive of each other as we should have been. Nevertheless, she had decided to stay with me and the kids even though she was uncertain about our relationship. She had a trip scheduled, and apparently I made some smart-ass remark about her weight. She had gained a few pounds, but wasn't fat. I probably didn't think anything of it, but I do have a smart mouth. She apparently asked me if that was really how I wanted to send her out of town, and apparently it was, because I did. She called him to come meet her on that trip. I don't even remember that trip, let alone what I said to her at the time. She's not sure why she didn't leave then. It's been a long time, and her memory of it isn't all that clear either. They continued talking online though. She says that a few months later I said something about how I loved her and couldn't imagine being without her, and she realized that I meant it, and that's when things started to turn around. They've been improving roughly ever since. Somewhere in there she told him it wasn't going to continue, and they haven't spoken since. The relationship started on AOL. Yeah, AOL, what of it? And she doesn't go there anymore, hasn't for years. Back to now, she says she read an article that husbands whose wives die are happier than husbands whose wives have affairs, and that I'd be better without her. This was a good thing for me, because it made me realize that I do want to continue with her. Now I just have to talk her into it. We talked for a few hours. Viber is a great application for international calls, BTW, and I feel much better. I'm not sure she does. There was a lot of self-recrimination. I told her repeatedly that I'm the only person who can judge whether she's what I want, and I'm happier with her than without. She's smart and funny, and still way out of my league. Looks wise. So, I'm pretty sure we'll stay together. I'm pretty convinced it was just a one-time thing, and as long as we keep working at it, hopefully we won't ever be in a dark place like that again. For all of you who asked, yes, she was tested for STDs at the time. I'll still probably get tested the next time I go to the doctor. Counseling is likely in our future, but if we keep having conversations like today's until she gets back, I'm betting we'll be talked out by then. I'll hit the gym tomorrow and run until I feel better or puke, whichever comes first. Again, thanks for being a sounding board. It really helped. Redditor's reactions. Redditor 1, a lot of people in relationships develop crushes here and there, and she made a mistake taking it too far. But, she chose you. And she's stuck with that decision for a long time, and hasn't strayed since. It sounds like she loves you, and you obviously love her. Tell her that. A lot, so she never feels alone again. I think forgiving her and staying with her is definitely the right choice. You guys are in this thing together. It took some balls for her to come clean. You two have stuck it out a long time and have raised 2 kids together. It sounds like the love and togetherness in your relationship far outweighs the mistakes. Redditor follow up, and she's stuck with that decision for a long time, and hasn't strayed since. I agree. At first, but at the same time, that's dirty pool. She drops off some long-standing guilt and makes the op worry about it. That's some BS right there. While I'd rather the op found out sooner and that 7 years is a long time, that's still a power play on her part to come clean and drop this on the op. He has every right to treat this as a fresh wound if he chooses to. He also had every right to not trust that this was the first and only time. And that's a terrible way to pass the buck. Redditor 2, therapy for you, couples therapy for both of you. Don't do anything rash. I hope everything works out for you guys. Op answer, sigh. We went to couples therapy years ago. I don't remember whether it was before, during or after the incident 7 years ago, and it's no fun. Not saying I don't realize the value, just not looking forward to it. One way or the other, I wish this were just over. I suppose that's part of the problem with divorce, it would be just over. Apart from divorce being a messy business. But I honestly think that if I asked for a divorce she'd just give it to me. Redditor 3, I think that most things can be forgiven with enough time. The problem here is the violation of trust and the lack of respect for you. You were a victim of trickle truth. She admitted to an emotional affair at the time and waited 7 years to admit to the physical affair. How do you know you're not a victim of this again? She has shown to be deceptive and to be remarkably good about it, considering you never would have known had she not confessed. She also shows an extreme lack of respect for your relationship by admitting it to you over the phone rather than in person, and at a point where she won't have to see you for several weeks. Can you trust 100% that you have the complete truth of the matter? How do you know that she isn't trying to alleviate 100% of her guilt with only 10% of the truth? This betrayal might have occurred 7 years ago for her, but it's happening to you right now. She doesn't get to admit to something 7 years ago and then say nothing has happened since then. I am now trustworthy. She is going to have to earn back your trust starting now, that is if you are even still interested. Op answer, it might sound naive. Okay, it does sound naive, but I believe her, at least 99%. You make a good point about the betrayal being now for me, and the trust starting now. I hadn't thought about it quite like that. Redditor 4, you should forgive her, but also keep in mind that people often admit these things as baby steps to test the water. There's a whole hell of a lot you don't know. Can you survive forgiving her, then having doubt or learning more? I suggest you guys get a counselor who is neutral and hash this out in a safe space. You need to ask a lot more questions and you need help doing that. And you also need someone to calm your shit down so she can spill the beans to you. Op answer: when she gets back we're going to have a face-to-face discussion where I will do my best to see if she's lying. Redditor 5. Many on this forum are of the mind that she made a mistake and she chose you, so you must forgive her. Fuck that. You mentioned you work hard, so I assume that you are an excellent provider. And this is why she decided to stay with you. A woman who can cheat is usually so self-centered that even her seemingly noble actions are driven by indulgences and her own comforts. So yeah, she didn't choose you because you loved her, but provided her with a lifestyle. In all honesty, if you are wealthy, fit and in an emotionally secure position in life, divorce her and find yourself a better woman. I can't understand why she told you this when she was away from you. Does she not care about how you feel? It bothers me that she didn't even tell you this in person, so that she could manage the situation and your reaction, in person. She seems to not care for you as much you care for her. However, if you are poor and will lose a lot in your divorce, then keep her, but tell her that the rules are now changed. You don't have to be explicit with her, just say that things have changed. Then take your time to navigate this, explore options with other women, or work on your emotions or listen to her convince you how she is not a fuck up. Either way, stop saying that you love her. Stop convincing yourself that you love her by repeating this idea in your thoughts. She is not the woman you loved. The woman you loved pretty much died 7 years ago when your wife decided to ride someone else's CCK. This is not the woman you love, or loved, but someone who looks like her, and given this woman's emotional convenience will not mind being with some other dude. Edit: I must also add, at the very least, get the marriage open. You have grown children, if they ever ask, tell them the truth before she takes her crocodile tears to them. Edit 2, boys, you wife an American woman, make sure you get her to sign an ironclad prenup. Op answer: when we married we had very little. Now well, we're not the 1%, but we're probably the 2 or 3%, and my career is going well at the moment. She also works, but isn't as well compensated as I am. I'm reasonably fit for my age, and I'm okay looking I guess, but no one is hitting on me, if that tells you anything. An open marriage doesn't help me. I want things back the way they were, rather than to move further in this direction. I know it's not possible, but still that's what I want, as much as possible. Redditor 6. Even if you forgive her and continue your relationship, this will always be in the back of your mind until the day you die. Every time she goes out, every time she goes on trips, it will always be at the back of your mind and bother you. It will then undoubtedly evolve into trust issues. That is an unhappy relationship. Plus, people don't change. If she did this once, she is liable to do it again. I say leave. At least you didn't find out that she prostituted herself for cocaine money like I did with the girl that I loved. Op answer: wow, your last sentence really puts my problems in perspective. I assume you broke up with her? I've always been very trusting. Maybe I won't be anymore. That would make me sad. Redditor 7. It's really nice to see someone taking a painful situation and looking at it rationally. You are staying away from vindictive actions and pursuing the best option for you. That is fantastic. The best of luck to you, sir. Op answer: thanks, I can't take credit for how I handle the situation. It's just the way I am. Redditor 8, what the hell? That's 2 lies, cheated and hiding the whole truth. I would suggest you find out why she told you out of the blue. Op answer: as I just replied elsewhere, honestly I think it was a combination of several things. She wasn't feeling well, physically or emotionally, and was feeling particularly guilty about it. I knew she was feeling guilty and I pressed the issue, and she came clean. At least I hope she did. If it turns out I still don't know the whole story, I'll be wrecked. Redditor 9, how noble of her to finally confess. Not really. If she really wanted to make it up to you, she would have taken it to the grave. She's tired of living with the guilt and she's betting on you to forgive her. You believe that she's being completely honest? Well, you believe she was being completely honest for 7 years. You might be an excellent judge of character, but she's pretty damn good at lying. It's perfectly fine to stay with her if that's what you want to do, and forgiveness is better for you. That way you don't have to live in constant fear of her betraying your love. But don't mistake her feelings for you as being the same love you feel for her. She doesn't love people per se, she is more like a fisherman who is looking for the finest catch. It's a sexist thing to say, but from my experience helping people with relationship problems both here on Reddit and in my own life, it's become apparent to me that a large number of women and even some men experience love this way. Her anguish at having to decide between you and another man was not because she thought she might break your heart, it was because she had to make this terrible decision, and woe is her, what if she makes the wrong one and picks the wrong guy? Her choice was not one of who she loved more, it was a choice of who could make her the happiest. Of course she doesn't want to hurt either man, but that doesn't change the fact that she felt it was her decision and the ultimate goal was her happiness. The problem is that both men are willing to be objectified in this fashion and would both be waiting for her after she broke the other man's heart. Men do this shit too, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is why people cheat. We don't know each other. We don't even take the time. And we hide everything from each other. Even in our closest relationships we are alone in the dark and we keep our lives separated when they could be so much more. This is why we treat each other the way we do. We are upset and hurt when the people that are supposed to understand us the most do not, and why should they? We never even told them the truth. Redditor 10, it sounds like you have already made your decision as far as not divorcing her and not getting even. I commend you for not doing either. It also sounds like you're just looking for the easiest ways to be satisfied with the choice you made. If you truly love her and you believe she feels the same, you made the right choice. You should remind yourself of this often to help you. Still, forgiveness is a process. You should have a calm and rationalized talk with her about this. This is the time to re-establish trust and get rid of hurt, but she needs to know so she doesn't think you have completely withdrawn or anything. Communication is extremely important here. So, take your time with forgiving her. She should understand the gravity of her mistakes, so she should be okay with this. However, if you take too long, you could end up pushing her away, which you also don't want. Redditor 11, I'm surprised by the amount of people saying you should just forgive her since it's been 7 years. It hasn't been 7 years for you, you just found out, so for you it just happened. She was selfish to cheat on you, selfish to lie about it for 7 years, and selfish to come clean now. She does not sound like a keeper, to be completely honest. Lawyer up. Good luck. Redditor 12, this is a fantastic op. Reading everything and taking it in stride. Very responsive. A+ would advise again. Redditor follow up, seriously though, you seem like a really decent guy, and I appreciate your level of interaction with respondents in this post. It's nice when ops follow up. Redditor 13, this is rough, you guys have built an entire life together, and then this happens. A confession and an apology just isn't going to cut it, at least for me it wouldn't. I wouldn't be able to get over it. Although, I'm not sure divorce is the way to go either. I wonder if she told you over the phone, knowing she won't be back for another week, to give you time to make it even. That's most likely what I would do, spend the week going out and doing whatever I wanted. No need to tell her about any of it either. When she gets back, sit her down and discuss if you guys can move forward or not. This kind of conversation should have never happened over the phone in the first place. I'm not exactly sure if this is the best advice to give to you. I can't even imagine the situation you're in. I guess whatever helps you forgive her and move on. If going out and making it even helps, do it. If there's no way you can really forgive her, then end the relationship and move on. Op answer, thanks. I think the phone thing happened because she's been away for some time, was feeling down, and it just sort of came out. I do feel the urge to get even, but I know it wouldn't make either of us feel better about it. Redditor 14, it is possible she is about to divorce you. She has arranged to be out of town for a while, she is unfaithful, and she is deliberately hurting, provoking you. You should prep for a divorce crisis, protect some money, check for key docs, consult lawyer. Remember that most filings are started by the woman and that the filer has a bug advantage in controlling the process. Op answer, I don't think this is true, but if it is I wouldn't much care as long as it didn't affect my ability to take care of the kids' college and such. My needs are modest, and I make a good living. Redditor 15, my blanket answer is dump the cheater. I don't buy the whole "they're sorry" thing. However, you seem really torn on the subject. I rarely suggest professional counseling. But in your case, I'd recommend it if you aren't ready to leave her. There are aspects of this that you should work through with a professional. I don't know anything about your situation or wife. But telling you over the phone is a shitty move. I hope there was some other motivation for telling you on the phone other than cowardliness and wanting you to be far away. Either get non-religious professional help or GTFO. Redditor 16, I'm no expert by any means, but what I got from this is she knew she wouldn't have to do this face to face and is hoping the extra weeks away will cause you to get over it, without you asking her the tough questions. Redditor 17, if I was you, I'd feel doubly betrayed. 7 years ago she cheated on you and only confessed half the truth. Then, for the next 7 years, she led you to believe that your original committed relationship was intact, when in fact that old relationship had ended and she had started a new one with you and duped you into believing it was still the old one. She didn't even respect you enough to give you the opportunity to examine the facts and decide whether you wanted to be part of the new post-cheating relationship. What are you going to find out 7 years from now? Op answer, hopefully nothing, but I guess we'll find out. We have a very different relationship now than we did back then, much better, the festering problem notwithstanding. I can only hope that what I've experienced over the last few years has been, with one glaring exception, the truth. Redditor 18, the day later update. She woke from a bad dream. She had decided to stay with me and the kids even though she was uncertain about our relationship. Apparently I made some smart-ass remark about her weight. She's not sure why she didn't leave then. Her memory of it isn't all that clear either. I feel much better. I'm not sure she does. That sounds like a lot of dodgy BS to me. That said, though, we're on your side. Smart call about Jim and STD check. All the best for you, man. Good luck. Op answer, thanks. I have the advantage of knowing her, obviously, and that sounds about right for her, not dodgy at all. Redditor 19, you've actually got two separate issues going on here and you need to consider them as two distinct things. Firstly is the cheating. You have two types of cheater. The first type is the serial cheater, the one that lusts for other people and can't control themselves. These type you leave because they aren't worth your love. Your wife does not fit in this category. The second type are the ones that are emotionally weaker and make genuine mistakes when an unhealthy relationship combines with a strong opportunity. It sounds like your wife fits in this category. Not being a person who has a high pain threshold for a bad relationship doesn't make somebody a bad person. It has no reflection on how much they love you, only on how much they are experiencing loving you at any one time. I am sure you are familiar with the way that you sometimes feel or experience that you love your partner more than other times. Your wife likely cheated on you when this dipped low. So should you forgive her for the cheating? I would say yes. The two of you didn't have the tools needed to prevent the relationship getting bad, i.e. communicating with each other. It sounds like you worked that part out and improved the relationship though. You can blame your wife for not being stronger all you like, but it's not that quality that makes or breaks a relationship, it's if the relationship is strong or not, and that has an element of shared blame. The second thing to consider is that she lied to you for 7 years. It is this point that makes me strongly suggest to you that you should leave her. She has essentially stolen your option to have control over your own life for 7 years. Had you known, you might have left her immediately and found somebody else who truly deserves you. She never gave you this option. You have been a second-class citizen in this relationship for 7 years. During these 7 years, how many decisions, arguments, or experiences have been altered by this lie that you've had no awareness of? You have not been a respected partner in the relationship for 7 years. For 7 years she has put her own happiness first and not considered you. She may feel like the guilt she has been feeling means that this isn't the case, and that she has been doing it for you. Bullshit. She has been lying for herself, not for you. None of this has been for you. You have not been in control of your life, but you can change that now. Her lies and betrayal have emasculated you. Take back some control of your life and file for a divorce. Finally, regardless of what you decide, in the end you need to tell your children. What your wife has done is shameful, and you absolutely should not protect her from any of the shame and humiliation she should feel. She has kept this a lie to try and mitigate how bad she would look when the truth came out. You need to do everything in your power to make sure that doesn't happen. I hope this all works out for you, mate. Op answer: I like the way you've broken this down into 2 parts. I agree on the first part, the second part not so much. Here's why: I look at this as a sunk cost. What's done is done. The only problem is the indication it gives for the situation going forward. But since, because of the first part, we're not likely to be in this position again, or at least if I'm smart I should know that we are, I shouldn't have to worry much about this happening again. Maybe I'm being foolish. But one thing that hasn't come out as part of this conversation is her many positive qualities. That's understandable, since it's not what this conversation is about, but still, everyone who says, you should stay together because of the years you have together doesn't realize how correct they are. We're both very unusual people, and it's a freaking coincidence that we ran into each other in the first place. If I break up with her, there's a very high probability that I'll spend the rest of my life alone. That in itself isn't that big a deal, since I'm an only child and used to it, but when the alternative is to spend the rest of my life with a smart, funny woman who generally enjoys my company and is hot to boot, well, the choice is fairly obvious. This situation sucks, but I'm sticking with it. Redditor 20, I've never been in your shoes, but I think you're making a good call by staying with her and not doing anything rash. I think if I were you, I'd set a time limit like 18 months or something and tell myself if in a year and a half, I'm still very upset about this and unsure that I want to continue our marriage, I will ask for a trial separation. In the meantime though, do whatever you can, both of you, to try to keep working at your marriage, improving your relationship, and trying to forgive her. Make an honest-to-God effort and give it time, and you'll probably get through it. Op answer: if you had asked me a week ago, I would absolutely have agreed with the time limit thing. In fact, I've said that myself in response to seeing events like this in TV shows. I hate when someone just says, I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive you, leaving the other person hanging. Now that I'm actually in those shoes, I find that I think I should know now. I feel like I'm on a mountaintop, with slopes headed down in 2 different directions. If I can't say that I'm headed for forgiveness right now, then I'm probably not headed toward forgiveness. And right now I feel like I've already taken several steps down the other side of the mountain.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.